The Clemson Tigers have lost the battle for yet another four-star offensive lineman. How does this impact the recruiting class? We're going to discuss it next on the Locked On Clemson Podcast.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Clemson family? Welcome back to the Locked On Clemson Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite Clemson Tigers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on Twitter at DP_NFL. You already know that I am part of the co-host team of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, but also the owner, right? The creator, the CEO, all of it, of the Scouting Room Patreon. So, guys, definitely go tap into. There is a Clemson All Access tab that you can click on, $10 a month that you could tap into. We'll talk recruiting, draft prospects for the Clemson Tigers when it comes down to it. And during the season, it's just all access, all exclusive access to me and to my knowledge and my brain and my interaction. So go tap in with that. But, guys, listen. We got a show. We got a good show in terms of we're gonna have a discussion. We have to have a discussion, guys. We're gonna talk about Locked On ACC ranked the top 5 fan bases in the ACC. We're gonna talk about some NIL issues with the Clemson Tigers, and then of course we're gonna kick it off with yet another. I'm getting tongue tied over here. Yet another loss in terms of recruiting on the prowl. We're getting this started off. I told you guys yesterday that if Fletcher Westfall did not select the Clemson Tigers, he made his decision yesterday, right? You know, sometime yesterday morning, mid-afternoon, somewhere in there, he made his decision and he selected the Florida Gators. And the crazy part about it is that all the predictions, it just flipped on its head. I remember looking at them coming into the week, and it was still Clemson as the favorite. And then I got a message the night before. Hey, just want to give you a heads up. Word is Fletcher Westfall is going to Florida. And I'm like, man, no way. Right? I'm just like, no way. We don't need that. We don't need that for the Tigers, man. Because another, just similar to, Satterwhite, I liked Westfall's game a lot as well, and what he could have brought to this offensive line. And so I was waiting on the announcement. And when I saw it, I saw the tweet, there was a Hayes Fawcett, I think is his name, or something like that. The guy that makes all the graphics for the kids to promote on Twitter and Instagram of where they're going, who they're decided to take their talents to, right? Where they're committing to. And I saw that he committed to Florida. And again, it just flipped on his head so fast. And it's just between him and William Satterwhite in just a number of days, just a couple of days. That's 2 4-star, physical, big tone setters on the offensive line that you just hate to lose out on the recruiting aspect of things, right? Especially after like the run. What was it last month? The Sammy Brown and the receivers, TJ Moore and blanking on the 5-star kid's name at this particular moment. Bryant Westcott, I think is his name. And watching Clemson shoot from 12 in national in the recruiting class, being ranked 12th to shooting to top 4, right? Top 5. They were ranked 4th. And I think there's been a steady decline, not getting some of these 4-star kids and having them go other places, man. Like I said, and I think the biggest thing for me is, again, you only have one offensive line pledge for the 2024 class. And that needs to change. It needs to change soon. You need to get more offensive linemen in. Trench warfare wins and loses games. I'm going to continue to say it. Because it's the truth. Trench warfare loses and or wins games. It's just hard to win if you don't have enough capable bodies, because you got to account for everything. even in 2024, if the same 5 that we have now, if the same 5 returns in 2024, let's say someone gets hurt, it would have been nice to have a Fletcher Westfall sitting as a swing tackle or William Satterwhite as a swing guard, interior offensive lineman, right? That was the thing that is those type of things, guys, that of why I'm so disappointed in this, right? And I asked a question to my guy, I was like, man, what happened? And it's like, word it was some NIL stuff. And I want to go ahead and make this clear now. I want to make this clear. I'm going to talk about NIL in the very next segment. But I'll make this clear now. I am someone who supports the young men getting their money, right? The name, image, and likeness, man. I remember Johnny Manziel when he was at Texas A&M. They said he was bringing in like 3.2 million, or it was just some crazy number in the millions to the facility and to the program, right? And all the jersey sales and the sold out stadiums and him beating Nick Saban's defense and everything else, right? So I'm all for these kids getting paid, right? And everything. So but it does create some issues with recruiting, and we're going to talk about that next. But again, like when I heard that, yeah, signs are pointing to some NIL stuff, like that was just like, oh man, and that's tough. That is absolutely tough. So I mean, again, losing, William Satterwhite, Fletcher Westfall. Now we're waiting on, I think it's Casey Poe, that we're waiting on now to get his pledge and his declaration. But Clemson's got to figure something out, guys. I'm telling you, something has to be figured out on this offensive line for the 2024 class. And there's still time. Of course, you can always flip recruits, and we see it all the time. Kids commit, decommit, right? Their best friend goes somewhere else, and now he's recruiting him to the school he's going to, and it's like, you know what? Let's do it, right? Like we played together since Pop Warner. Let's keep it going, right? So anything is possible. Kevin Garnett said it after the Celtics won the championship. Anything is possible, right? And that's true. But you want to be, at the end of the day, like, they started out well, but you need to finish strong. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that we're not finishing as strong at this particular moment, right? And you just want to see that improve. So, like I said, losing Fletcher Westfall is a big loss. It's because it's compounding losses in recruiting, right? With William Satterwhite and now Fletcher Westfall, two guys that really could help this offensive line. And like I said, they said it's due to NIL. That may have been the late switch and change. If so, what does that mean? That's a good segue, because coming up next in segment 2, we're going to talk about, are there some NIL issues with the Clemson Tigers? I'm going to look at, and maybe I'll show it to you guys, but I'm definitely going to pull up the numbers for the current Clemson football players and what their NIL money looks like right now per one.com, because they track all of that stuff as well, as I've talked so highly of the crew over there. So yeah, coming up next, we're going to talk about, is there some NIL issues over in Death Valley, coming up next on the Locked On Clemson podcast. Let me introduce you guys to Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs make me look and feel good, and they're going to do the same thing for you. Bird Dogs have a stretch khaki shorts, and they are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and the leg, give you a truly sculpted look. Their shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon's, but they fit way better. Not only do they fit better than Lululemon, they fit better than those regular shorts that are made from the stiff, restricting cotton that you have in your closet. Yeah, they're better than those as well. And guys, I love the Cloud Knit fabric that they use to create these pants, because they look just like khakis, but they stretch to give you a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice any movement at all. And you're going to love the anti-stink and sweat wicking fabric that they use that will keep you cool and dry all day long, all summer long. So guys, go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege or enter the promo code LockedOnCollege for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege or promo code LockedOnCollege for a free Yeti style tumbler, because you will not want to take off your Bird Dogs, we promise you. NIL issues for the Clemson Tigers. And I remember being at ACC Media Day, and there was some discussions about Clemson not being highly favored in the NIL department, right? And looking at, like I said, one.com has everything, one-stop shop for recruiting and everything. They have an NIL portion in section where they have the information of the NIL valuation of these players, right? Or they're already on teams, that are recruits coming out of high school, still in high school, things of that nature. And supposedly the top ranked NIL valuation for the Clemson Tigers is Will Shipley, running back, at $484,000, with Jeremiah Trotter coming right behind him with $456. Barrett Carter, $420. And it's like, okay, Cade Klubnik's at 5 or $325, and then right above him is Christopher Vezina, sorry, quarterback. He's at $361, so that rounds up the top 5. And I want to put this into some. I want to put it into some type of. I want to put it into a way that you guys understand. For me, I'm losing words because I'm looking at some of these numbers, right? I'm going to put it into context. I want to bring context to this. Arch Manning, who's a freshman at University of Texas, his NIL valuation, $2.8 million. Caleb Williams, quarterback. Some have QB1 in college football and the 2024 NFL draft class for the USC Fighting Trojans, or whatever they call themselves. His NIL valuation is at $2.7 million. Travis Hunter, transferred from Jackson State over with Coach Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. His valuation is $1.6 million for NIL. Drake May, in our conference in the ACC, Drake May, quarterback from North Carolina, $1.5 million. Bo Nix, right at the top 5, looks like in college football. Bo Nix, quarterback from Oregon, $1.5 million. Shedeur Sanders at 6 from Colorado, primetime son. Quarterback, $1.4 million. Another quarterback's on this list at number 7, J.J. McCarthy, quarterback from Michigan, $1.4. At number 8, Marvin Harrison Jr., the best wide receiver in college football and in the NFL draft. He's wide receiver 1, $1.3 million. Michael Penix, quarterback from Washington, $1.3. And then another ACC quarterback from Florida State, quarterback Jordan Travis at $1.2. So, guys, if you weren't picking up what I was putting down by reading that top 10 as emphatically as I did, what it says is those guys are in the millions, and Clemson's top players have not even cracked 500,000. So what that says to me is that it just looks like there's an NIL issue, right? Now, I get it. Texas, long money, right? I get that. I understand it, right? North Carolina, though, Florida State, Clemson has won way more than both of those teams. So it's just, this is something that if the writing's on the wall, if the writing that is on the wall is accurate, that there are issues with NIL, Clemson needs to figure it out, because it's hard to maintain and sustain winning in today's college football. I talked about it at the end of the first segment. If Fletcher Westfall flipped from favoring Clemson to go to Florida solely off of NIL, I'm not saying that that's what exactly was, but that's what I was told. That's been part of it. So if that is the case, what does that say? It's a big part of recruiting. You got to be able to close the deal now, right? At the end of it's at the end of the day, it's literally like the transfer portal and NIL creates a free agency, free for all. Kids don't have to go to the biggest blue blood programs anymore just off of cachet and sit for 3 years. They don't, right? They don't have to do that no more. What can they do now? Oh, I can be Travis Hunter and go to Jackson State and make over $1 million in my first year of college? Or my NIL be worth $1 million? At Jackson State, HBCU, shout out to my HBCUs. But if that's the case, like, the tides have changed. The pendulum has swung, guys. So I know that there's a lot of college football purists that don't like NIL, and I totally understand it. I love NIL because it gives a lot of these kids the chance to make money. Now, what they need to do is find some reinforcements to it and some guidelines and everything else to where it's not as big of a recruiting tool as it is. So the NCAA went from, we're not going to pay players at all. We're not going to pay you, to we're going to pay you. We're going to let you benefit off your name, image, and likeness because it's actually the right thing to do. But we have no idea what we're doing, and we're just going to make it like just a free-for-all. You could do whatever. And it's like, I don't really think that's a good idea. I don't really think that's a good idea, guys. Like, you should have thought about some rules first. Because I think it was at the ACC Media Day last year where, or it may have been after the season. I think it might have been after the season. That North Carolina head coach Mack Brown said that teams, it was after the season because there was a lot of reports that Alabama was going after Drake May, and the NIL money that was thrown around was in the $4 to $5 million range. And if I remember correctly, Mack Brown had some words about it and saying that other schools are trying to pluck and pry our players away with NIL, and it's like that sucks. That sucks, man, because it literally makes it more of a professional league than an amateur, right? Like, because that's what it is in the NFL. If a player is top at his position and you're not paying them enough, and other teams are like, I'll give you draft picks, I'll do whatever, and then I'll pay him all the money, right? That's what it is. So that's what the landscape is right now in college football, and it looks like Clemson's just not in that top half of NIL available, having the NIL available, right? And if that's the case, man, that's just tough. That's tough. It's tough to win. It's tough to sustain, and it's tough to continue to build a dynasty and build and add the necessary pieces to recreate the dynasty and get that momentum back and be that perennial college football playoff team, right? Even when they go to, 12 in 2025 or whatever it's going to be. Not really a fan of that, but nonetheless, give me 6 to 8 and we're good, baby. But 12, it just seems like a lot, right? It just seems like a lot. It seems like going to be a lot of blowouts. But again, I digress. I just feel like they have to figure this out. Find a way to get some more money in. And some stuff with NIL is simple, guys. Like, you got kids that have, they may not be getting paid by the car dealership, but they got a Benz. I think Bijan Robinson was sponsored by Lamborghini, right? I think Quinn Ewers is like Rolls Royce or something like that. But when I'm saying G-Wagon or whatever it is, like, if you have any of these in your area, hey, it helps. Jordan Addison, who was the Biletnikoff Award winner in 2021, best receiver in college football. You know what he did? He went to USC last year for 2022. He got a house, got a car, he got money. A lot of that stuff matters now. So Clemson is something that Clemson has to figure out in order to continue to be competitive. Because if the surrounding teams around you, right, it's like being in a big state or a big area, right, living wise, but you're the only city of the surrounding cities that doesn't want to modernize your homes and your town and everything like that, right? Everybody else is coming up with the new age stuff, right? The new technology. This is added to your home, this and that. So all the gadgets, everything that's more modern that people are looking for, right? Stealth security with cameras and all that good stuff. You need those things, right? Yeah. So, like, if you're the last one to come to the party of we're going to be modern, it just doesn't help the situation. So, again, it just seems like there is a little bit of an issue with NIL in Death Valley, guys. But again, we'll see. And you don't want to know what we're also going to see? Where does the fans in Death Valley rank amongst the top 5 ACC fan bases? Locked On ACC ranked them, and I'm going to give you my reaction coming up next on the Locked On Clemson Podcast. The top 5 ACC fan bases per my girl Candace Cooper and the fam over on Locked On ACC. Go check them out if you'd like. So let's go ahead and get into it. And I'm going to go ahead and show the rankings now. So at number 1, we have your Clemson Tigers. So give yourself a fat pat on the back because you've earned it. Number 2, you got Florida State. There's, they hang around, right? They seem like Clemson and Florida State is either 1 or 2 in something right now heading to 2023. Number 3 is Virginia Tech, those Hokies. Number 4 is Louisville. That one kind of caught me off guard a little bit. Number 5 is North Carolina. And I'm going to tell you guys, I don't mind this. I actually like this list for them. Like I said, Louisville caught me off guard, but I had to think back to those, all those ACC night games I've watched with Louisville and stuff like that. I'm like, man, those crowds are raucous. Like they're out there rocking, even when the team isn't great, right? Like they're still out there being extremely supportive. And that's what being a part of being listed as a top 5 fan base comes from that. It comes from the fact of, okay, can you support your team? Can you show out in droves even when your team is having a so subpar season, right? You look for those things, and Louisville does that. North Carolina, man, and of course it doesn't hurt, right? Like to go from Sam Howell, and especially the 2020? 2020, yeah, it was 2020. The 2020 version of Sam Howell, when he had Daz Newsome and De'Ami Brown, Michael Carter, Javonte Williams, I think is the other running back, and man, all those playmakers out there, they're out there balling, like just bombs away on everybody, deep throw, big run, explosive plays. In 2021, it wasn't the greatest season for Sam Howell after he lost all 4 of those weapons, right? But that's when the emergence of Josh Downs happened. But North Carolina still came out and supported, right? They still came out and supported the team. So I don't mind them being on there either. Virginia Tech, I absolutely think they're top 3. Their crowds are ridiculously fun to watch, right? Just to see the fans, the students coming out, and those night games, man. Those night games, the jerseys when they change it, all that type of stuff. It's fire. And I think that they are such a passionate group that they definitely belong at 3. Number 2, Florida State hasn't been like early years good in a long time, but their fans still, with the chant, right? With the Seminole chomp and all that stuff, they're still there. They're still around, and they're still selling out those arenas, man. And those fans still show up on Saturdays, 12 o'clock noon Eastern time, knowing that, hey, man, we're going to lose today. In those same situations, they still show up with optimism, with excitement and everything. But, shout out to them, man. And like I said, I appreciate fans like that. They're not fair weather fans. You still show up. And that goes to number 1, your Clemson Tigers. You guys show up, even when things weren't going well with DJU and the offense in 2021. And even though he started off better in 2022, but then ultimately it started to falter in 2020 and towards the middle and end of 2022. You still came out and supported the team. You still showed love. And that's the type of things. Let me tell you, it's nothing better. It's nothing better than turning on the TV, sitting at home, because I haven't gone live to experience it yet. I plan to this fall, and watching Dabo again, 67 years, whatever, however old this man is, and his 4.22 40-yard dash coming down that steep hill, and touching the rock, and just the energy level that you guys bring to that stadium, man, to Death Valley. It's incredible. It's amazing. The energy is something you just can't replicate, right? And I'll tell you, like NFL teams, they'll, when they know they have a loud crowd that they're going to play on a Sunday or Thursday, whatever, they typically are practice with a ton of noise, like pumped into the speakers, right? Atlanta Falcons, they play in the dome. So if they're in there practicing, hey, send as much noise. You cannot, I'm telling you one thing about, and this is not just a Clemson thing, all 5 teams on this list, you cannot replicate loud college fan bases, stadiums, None of that. That sound, the decibels, all of that stuff, it can't be replicated. It can't be fabricated or manufactured, man. That's just top tier stuff. So I listen, going over the list again. Top 5 fan bases per Locked On ACC. Shout out to my girl Coop, Candace Coop. Go check her out at Locked On ACC on YouTube and everything. But she's got you. The Clemson Tigers at number 1. The Florida State Seminoles at number 2. The Virginia Tech Hokies at number 3. The Louisville Cardinals at number 4. And the North Carolina Tar Heels at number 5. I had to give it a little southern twang to it, right? I get a little southern twang, right? Okay. But listen, that is our show, man. The top 5 ACC fan bases. We talked and question, is there some NIL issues that we need to be worried about over in Death Valley for the Clemson Tigers? And again, losing another 4-star offensive lineman, this time to the Florida Gators with Fletcher Westfall. It's a hurtful feeling, right? But at the end of the day, we're going to keep our heads up, keep our heads high, because 2023 is where we ride, baby. We staying alive. So we're going to keep that energy, man. But as always, I appreciate you guys for tapping in with me. Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Get the latest episode as soon as it's available, especially on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Go subscribe, download, share, leave a 5-star review for your boy. I appreciate all the love and support. On tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about the top 5 ACC ranked NFL draft prospects, guys. How many Tigers will make this list? And do I believe that more Tigers should be on the list or less? Whatever. It's, again, Locked On ACC made these rankings. So I'm going to break them down and give you my reaction on tomorrow's show. We're going to keep our eyes on the prowl for recruiting and seeing what's going on. But as always, guys, you can find and follow me on Twitter at DP_NFL. Talk to me because I talk back. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Go Tigers.